The 1979 Nahariya attack was a raid by 4 Palestine Liberation Front militants in Nahariya, Israel on April 22, 1979. The group, consisting of Abdel Majeed Asslan, Mhanna Salim, al-Muayed, and Ahmed al-Abras, and led by 16-year-old Samir Kuntar, used a small, 55-horsepower boat to travel from Tyre, Lebanon to Israel. During the attack they killed 3 Israelis, including a father and 2 of his young children. Another child was accidentally suffocated in efforts to hide her from the attackers. Kuntar and al-Abras were captured, convicted of murder by an Israeli court, and sentenced to several life sentences. Both Kuntar and al-Abras were later set free in prisoner swap deals conducted between Israel and Lebanese militant organizations, al-Abras in 1985, and Kuntar in 2008. Details of the attack. Arrival on April 22, 1979, a group of 4 Palestine Liberation Front militants entered Israel from Lebanon by boat. The group was headed by Samir Kuntar and included Abdel Majeed Asslan, Mhanna Salim, al-Muayed, and Ahmed al-Abras, all members of the PLF under the leadership of Abu Abbas. The group departed from the seashore of Tyre in southern Lebanon using a 55-horsepower motorized rubber boat with an 88 km/h speed. The goal was to attack Nahariya, 10 kilometers away from the Lebanese border. Around midnight they arrived at the coastal town of Nahariya, killing Ynhockey Shahar. Upon landing on the beach in Nahariya, the group followed instructions issued in Beirut, which included finding a police officer and killing him. They knocked on the door of a private house and called out in Arabic via the intercom, frightening the residents into calling the police. Then, they killed responding police officer Ynhockey Shahar. According to the Israeli Security Service's reconstruction of the incident, Shahar was killed after he got out of his vehicle and fired 2 warning shots into the air. Kuntar's group responded with a massive burst of gunfire. Samir Kuntar boasted that he alone shot 30 bullets in this incident. Raid on apartment building and kidnapping. The group then entered an apartment building on 61 Jabotinsky Street, planning to abduct 2 or 3 people and take them back to Lebanon. One of the PFLP men, Abdel Majeed Asslan, broke into the apartment of Charles Shapiro, 34, a recent immigrant from South Africa. After the doors to his apartment had been shot up, Shapiro, who was armed with a .22 caliber Magnum revolver, shot Asslan dead. Next, Kuntar's group encountered Moshe Sasson, a resident who was trying to reach the building's bomb shelter carrying his 2 young daughters, one under each arm. Kuntar shoved Sasson and slammed a handgun into the back of his skull. However, Sasson escaped when the hall lights suddenly went out and hid under a parked car. The 3 remaining militants then broke into the apartment of the Harron family. They took 31-year-old Danny Harron hostage along with his 4-year-old daughter, Ahmed. The mother, Smada Harron, was able to hide in a crawl space above the bedroom with her 2-year-old daughter Yael, and a neighbor, Sasson's wife. Shootout on the beach. Kuntar's group then took Danny and Ahmed down to the beach, where a shootout erupted with Israeli policemen and a squad of soldiers from the elite Sayeret Golani Special Forces unit. According to eyewitnesses, when Kuntar's group found that the rubber boat they'd arrived in was disabled by gunfire, Kuntar shot Danny at close range in the back, in front of his daughter, and drowned him in the sea to ensure he was dead. Next, according to forensic evidence and eyewitness court testimony, Kuntar killed the girl by smashing her skull against the rocks with the butt of his rifle. Smada Harron accidentally suffocated Yael to death while attempting to quiet her whimpering, which would have revealed the hiding place. A second militant, Mhanna Salim al-Muayed, was killed in the shootout on the beach. Kuntar and the 4th member of the group, Ahmed al-Abras, were captured. Fatalities. The 4 Israeli victims of the attack were police officer Eliyahu Shahar, Danny Aaron, Einet Aaron, Danny's 4-year-old daughter. In addition, Danny's other daughter, 2-year-old Yael, was accidentally suffocated by her mother, who was trying to keep the young girl quiet as they hid from the terrorists. Retaliation. The day after the attack, Israeli Navy gunboats bombarded Nahr el-Bed, a Palestinian refugee camp in Beirut described by an Israeli military spokesman as a major base for the PFLP. The bombardment lasted an hour and 3 civilians were reportedly killed. On December 19, 2015, Kuntar was killed by an explosion destroying a 6-story residential building in Mhanna on the outskirts of Damascus. Hezbollah and the state-run Syrian Arab news agency reported that the building was destroyed by an air-to-surface missile launched by the Israeli Air Force. Trial. Samir Kuntar and Ahmed al-Abras were convicted of murdering 4 people by an Israeli court in 1980, and sentenced to 4 life sentences, and an additional 47 years for injuries inflicted. On July 13, 2008, after being classified for nearly 30 years, File No. 578/79, containing the evidence and testimony from Kuntar's 1980 trial, was first published. According to the file, evidence presented by the pathologist at the trial showed that Einet Aaron was killed by the force of a blunt instrument, most likely a rifle, but the pathologist's report also showed that Einet's brain tissue was found on Kuntar's rifle. Immediately following his capture, when his remand was extended, Kuntar confessed that he had bludgeoned Einet to death with the butt of his rifle. Later, however, when testifying in court, Kuntar denied the charges. In his testimony, Kuntar asserted that Israeli gunfire had killed Danny Aaron as soldiers burst in to free him, and that he did not see what happened to Einet after passing out from blood loss from 5 bullet wounds. He explained that the group's goal had been to take hostages back to Lebanon, and that he had taken the 4-year-old to prevent Israeli police from shooting at them. According to some sources, Samir Kuntar and Ahmed al-Abras were sentenced to 5 life terms and that 2 police officers were killed. Aftermath. The killing of Einet Aaron is regarded as one of the most brutal terror attacks in the history of Israel. A day after the attack, Abu Abbas, the leader of the Palestine Liberation Front, announced from Beirut that the terrorist attack in Nahariya had been carried out to protest the signing of the Egyptian-Israeli peace treaty at Camp David the previous year. In 1980, Samir Aaron married Ynhockey, a clinical psychologist who had been severely wounded in the 1973 Yom Kippur War. They have 2 daughters. Samir is now a psychotherapist with a master's degree in social work. Ahmed al-Abras was freed by Israel in the Jibril Agreement of May 1985. According to Leonard A. Cole, Samir Aaron led a campaign in Israel to honor the victims of terrorism just as it does its fallen soldiers, and in 2003 she opposed the release of Samir Kuntar in exchange for the bodies of the 3 Israeli soldiers captured by Hezbollah during the 2000 Hezbollah cross-border raid, and for Elchanan Tannenbaum, the Israeli businessman and former IDF colonel who was kidnapped by Hezbollah in Dubai. Israeli Foreign Minister Silvan Shalom and Prime Minister Ariel Sharon said that the murder of a family in Israel is unforgivable and refused to release Kuntar in the 2003 swap. Samir Kuntar spent nearly 3 decades in prison before being released on July 16, 2008 as part of an Israel-Hezbollah prisoner swap. He denied killing Danny and Einet but admitted to killing Eliyahu Shahar, the policeman. He never expressed remorse for the killings. In Israel, Kuntar was considered the perpetrator of one of the most brutal terrorist attacks in the country's history, while in Lebanon he was widely regarded as a national hero. He was assassinated on December 19, 2015, in a suspected Israeli airstrike, though Israel did not confirm this, and the Free Syrian Army would later take credit for killing Kuntar.